Okay, let's unpack something.
Yeah.
Well, truly bizarre that landed on our radar today.
Oh, yeah.
You actually flagged a Reddit thread for us. It's a real hive mind reacting to a Newsweek article.
Ah, okay. I think I know the one.
And the news that basically set the internet on fire. It was a White House statement claiming they possess technology
Yeah.
capable of manipulating time and space.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, when you first hear a claim like that, your initial reaction is probably, well, mine certainly is, and I imagine for listeners too. It's got to be skepticism, right?
But totally.
Manipulating time and space. I mean, that's not exactly everyday language. It feels much more like, science fiction.
Right, like something ripped from a script.
And from a scientific standpoint, the whole idea of actually manipulating time and space, like in the movies,
Yeah.
it, it's incredibly complex. We're talking deeply theoretical stuff. So, yeah, it makes sense why that statement would raise eyebrows, a lot of eyebrows.
Absolutely. My first thought wasn't far off. I was wondering if the Onion had somehow, snuck into the real news feed.
Yeah.
But nope. This thread is actually in Sir Not the Onion, where the unbelievable is apparently real news.
The perfect place for it, then.
So look, our mission today isn't really about proving or disproving some secret government time travel program. Let's be clear on that.
Probably was.
Instead, we're diving into this fascinating kind of wild whirlwind of ideas that this single claim unleashed. And we're seeing it all through the lens of this Reddit discussion.
And what's really striking looking at that thread is just the sheer range of responses it triggered, you know?
Yeah.
This Reddit thread is like a perfect little microcosm of how people process these really extraordinary claims. You've got everything from like instant jokes and, well, some pretty colorful references to altered states.
Oh, yeah. We'll get to those.
All the way to more serious, though sometimes, equally imaginative attempts to figure out what on earth this could actually mean.
And the humor definitely hit fast. Like user Johnny Cochran just jumped in with ketamine. If you know, you know. Simple as that.
Okay. Direct.
Then you had Sky Houseman offering maybe a less sophisticated take, but just as cutting, technology of repeatedly lying.
Ouch. Yeah, that's blunt.
And individual Cut 4703 chimed in right after, calling it the infamous alternative facts from a few years back. So pretty swift, pretty sarcastic dismissals right off the bat.
Well, that immediate jump to sarcasm, it isn't really that surprising, is it? When you're faced with something that seems to completely defy how you understand the world.
Yeah.
Humor can be a defense mechanism almost, a way to sort of regain control or just signal your disbelief without having to, write a whole essay about it.
Right, just deflate the whole thing.
Exactly. Deflate the outlandishness with a bit of wit.
And then things got wonderfully weird. The time knife joke.
Oh, the time knife.
User Doom 1282 just
Yeah.
casually throws it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the time knife, we've all seen it. It's common knowledge.
Uh-huh.
And B. Fortin's reply, just a massive, bold time knife. Total bewildered confusion.
Yeah.
And it instantly became this running gag in the thread, this mental image of some mundane kitchen utensil that can somehow bend reality.
That time knife comment, it's actually a perfect illustration, isn't it? How a claim that's so huge, so grand manipulating time and space, can just get reduced to something almost absurdly mundane.
Yeah.
It really highlights that disconnect between, the monumental implications they're claiming and the often sort of banal or even comical reality of everyday life and, frankly, political talk.
Okay, so speaking of things that alter perception, the discussion took a really interesting and maybe unexpected turn. A bunch of users started sharing their personal experiences with ketamine infusions.
Right, often in a medical setting, it sounded like.
Yeah, mostly.
And what's striking there is how these subjective experiences, even though they're, chemically induced, they seem to tap into this really fundamental human curiosity about going beyond the normal limits of time and space. It kind of suggests this deep-seated fascination, maybe even a longing, for realities beyond what we perceive day to day.
Well, listen to this one from user Mummy Hands. They shared these incredibly vivid experiences during their infusions. They said, and I quote, "I died and went through the entire process of dying."
Wow. That's intense.
In another session, they felt like they were buzzing around other worlds, or even, get this, an atom that lived inside of the eye of a deer.
An atom in a deer's eye, okay? That's a powerful and pretty surreal image.
Definitely. And then you had just a guy in Tampa explaining how ketamine helped them, quote, understand the relation between time-space circle of life, said it even made the movie Interstellar finally click for them.
Huh. Interesting. So it gave them a framework almost.
Seems like it. And Nihilith described falling down cosmic tunnels at light speed, which another user, No Solid Thanks, jumped on, saying it perfectly captured their own feeling of moving through dimensions.
Yeah, those descriptions, cosmic tunnels, light speed, they really evoke that sense of transcending normal physical limits.
And Channeliston's account is particularly wild. They described replaying an accident in slow motion, being able to pause it, rewind it in their mind,
Whoa.
then zooming out, seeing the entire universe,
Yep.
and ultimately feeling like they died and then came back.
Goodness. These are clearly transformative, profound experiences for these individuals. And you can see how, in their intensity, they could feel like a genuine manipulation of reality's fundamental aspects.
Absolutely. And then, just to bring things slightly back to Earth, there was Apri's contrasting story, more lighthearted.
Oh, yeah.
Their cat had ketamine after surgery,
Mm.
and apparently had a surprisingly positive reaction. Became, like, unusually sweet and cuddly.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, that brings a bit of levity, but it still highlights the drug's power to alter perception and behavior, even in our pets.
Right. So the point is, while these aren't, peer-reviewed scientific demonstrations of warping spacetime,
No, definitely not.
these shared stories really illustrate how our subjective awareness, our consciousness, can be dramatically altered. It creates this feeling of manipulating reality, even if it's all happening inside our own heads.
Exactly. The sheer intensity of those subjective feelings stands in pretty stark contrast to the more, let's say, grounded perspective that just dismissed the White House claim outright.
Yeah, like Sky Houseman again, who basically saw the statement as just hyperbole or even more bluntly, repeatedly lying.
Just calling it as they see it, basically.
And then we saw Old Dealer 7002 actually quoting the Newsweek article itself, which suggested the speech's wording suggests the phrase was metaphorical, intended to refer to the transformative nature of modern innovation, not literal manipulation of space-time or the invention of time travel.
Right, and this is where the more, you could say, pragmatic interpretations start to come in. The idea that maybe the statement was just meant as a metaphor.
Like a figure of speech.
Yeah, a way to emphasize just how profound and rapid technological advancements are and the impact they have on our lives. Kind of like saying technology is magic.
And user Memento of Inspiration really fleshed this interpretation out. They explained it probably refers to other countries having faster transport than America, technologies that bend space and time by reducing the time to travel distances.
Ah, okay, so concrete examples.
Yeah, things like high-speed rail, maybe advancements in communication, stuff that effectively shrinks distances and shortens travel time.
So, a metaphorical bending of space and time through innovation. When we talk about, faster travel making the world feel smaller,
Yeah.
is that a real change in our experience of space and time, even if it's metaphorical? I'd say yes.
That makes sense.
It's really about the shrinking of the world, isn't it? Through faster communication, faster transportation, it makes geographical distances feel less significant, and that fundamentally changes our practical day-to-day experience of both space and time.
Okay, but then, as happens on Reddit, the discussion pivoted, pretty sharply actually, towards broader political and economic anxieties.
Right. It became less about the literal claim and more about what it represented to people.
Exactly. User Oka Professions 7520 raised this concern about academics leaving the U.S., worrying that the nation is losing its edge in science and tech.
Mm.
And they attributed this directly to the current administration, saying it's driving away innovators.
Yeah, the fact that a claim like this, which seems almost scientific on the surface, immediately pivots to political dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
It does highlight something, doesn't it? Maybe a lack of trust or just broader anxiety about where the country's headed.
Using this statement as a sort of focal point for those other concerns.
Precisely. And that comment also mentioned private industry maybe excelling more in applied science than fundamental research, which, raises its own important questions about the long-term health of innovation.
And that discontent got pretty sharp. Really stark comparisons started coming out. Users like Sofaru, Datlinder, Mr. Barenheim, S.C. Wickedham, all making these sarcastic comparisons to 1930s Germany.
Wow. Yeah, that's strong language.
Very. It's a really forceful way of expressing their disapproval,
These comparisons, obviously, they're extreme, but they reflect a pretty deep level of dissatisfaction, wouldn't you say? A sense of unease about the current political climate. It's like a hyperbolic way of signaling they see things going in a negative, maybe even dangerous direction.
And then the dark humor popped back up, but this time with a definite political edge. Comments from Kajovo and Not Today.
Yeah.
Sarcastically referencing U.S. space lasers
Yeah.
right alongside this claim of time and space manipulation.
Ah, right. putting it in that category.
It's clearly a way for them to mock what they see as just completely outlandish or, baseless pronouncements coming from people in authority.
Yeah, comparing it to other easily dismissed conspiracy theories just serves to ridicule the White House statement even further,
Huh.
places it firmly in the realm of the unbelievable or, the patently absurd for those commenters.
Interestingly, though, amidst all that, the claim also triggered a whole wave of pure science fiction references, which is kind of fun.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Awkward Bison 267 just asked, like a Stargate, indeed. And Joe 96 suggested, nah, more like a chronosphere. Referencing, I think, Command and Conquer.
Haha. Okay. Deep cuts there.
And of course, you got to have the TARDIS from Doctor Who.
Okay.
They got multiple shout-outs from users Humboldt77, Mern Elkaz, Chase 0001.
Well, that makes sense. Those references really underscore how deeply embedded these concepts, time travel, space manipulation, are in our pop culture already.
Sure.
Science fiction has been playing with these ideas for decades, right? So it's almost a natural human tendency to draw those parallels when a real-world entity, especially the government, makes a claim like this, however improbable it seems.
And the mental image. So
Yeah.
painted this picture of Trump interacting with the Time Lords. That came from Sujinaru and the Duck in it. It's quite something.
Yeah, the sheer contrast, right, between a very specific real-world political figure and the super fantastical element of sci-fi, it just creates an inherently funny picture in your head. The humor in those sci-fi comparisons often comes from that exact juxtaposition. The mundane reality of politics smashing up against the limitless possibilities of fictional universes. It's a way to both grapple with how weird the claim is and maybe offer a little lighthearted social commentary, too.
Okay, so let's bring it back just for a moment to the original statement itself. User DaveOJ12 made a really crucial observation, I thought,
Okay.
pointing out that the sensational headline often leaves out the sentence that comes immediately after the manipulate time and space bit.
Ah, the context, always important.
Right. They quoted the full statement. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow, and improve productivity.
Okay, hearing the whole thing. Dave OJ12's point really does provide vital context there. Reading the complete sentence definitely shifts the potential meaning.
How so?
Well, manipulate time and space still sounds dramatic on its own, no doubt. But the phrases right after it, annihilating distance, promoting growth, improving productivity, those sound much more practical.
More grounded.
Yeah, albeit still impressive. But it suggests a meaning more related to technological advancement and its actual tangible results.
But then, just to keep things complicated, user Pulso Bay Traffic Lights countered that.
No.
They pointed out that the specific phrasing bend, time, and space apparently appears more than once in the wider context of the original article or speech,
Ah.
which suggests maybe it wasn't just a single isolated metaphorical flourish. It definitely throws some of that ambiguity right back in.
That is a key nuance. The repetition of such specific and frankly unusual wording, it does leave room to question if it was purely intended as just a casual metaphor.
Right.
It really highlights the inherent challenges in interpreting language, doesn't it? Especially in official statements where, every single word can be picked apart and potentially interpreted in multiple ways.
So I guess ultimately what this whole deep dive into the Reddit thread really shows is the remarkable ambiguity baked into that White House statement. It's just so extraordinary that it sparked this incredibly diverse range of reactions. Everything from, the instant sarcastic jokes and the drug analogies, all the way to really pointed political critiques and these playful nods to science fiction.
Exactly. Whether the statement was meant literally or metaphorically, or maybe it was just, a poorly phrased attempt to talk about tech progress. Whatever the intent, the spectrum of reactions it caused is incredibly insightful.
Oh, so.
It just offers this fascinating glimpse into how people grapple with unusual claims, especially from positions of authority. And the wide array of frameworks, humor, personal experience, politics, fiction that they use to try and understand, or often just satirize pronouncements like that.
So as everyone's listened to this whirlwind of reactions, the jokes, the ketamine stories, the skepticism, the political stuff, the sci-fi references, it makes you think, why is this idea of manipulating time and space so captivating?
It really does grab hold, doesn't it?
Even if it seems totally far-fetched most of the time, why does it grab our attention so easily? What could our collective fascination with these kinds of ideas actually reveal about us? Maybe about our underlying hopes for the future, or our anxieties about power and technology.
Or just our fundamental perceptions of progress,
Hmm.
and maybe even governmental authority itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which of all these interpretations we talked about resonated most strongly with you listening right now? And what might that tell you about your own way of making sense of the weird world around us? It's
Mhm.
definitely a lot to chew on.